Hey, this is Jeff Caudill from Gameface and Low Coast, and you're listening to The New Scene. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The New Scene. I am your host, Keith, and we're back with another brand new episode. And I've got another great one for you this week. We have Popeye Vogelsang of Farside and Calling Hours. Popeye's new band, Calling Hours, has just released an excellent new LP on Revelation Records. It's called Say Less. And Farside, we know and love. We cover everything. Farside history, Calling Hours, the origin of that new band, Jeff's move from Los Angeles to Scranton, Pennsylvania. This was a really great conversation that took some turns that I didn't expect. Some pleasant turns. And that's coming up shortly. But first, here's how you can support The New Scene. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at New Scene Pod. Follow us on Twitch at The New Scene. Reviews. Give us 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I'm still on the push to get us over 200 Apple Podcast reviews. And we've been sitting at 157 for about a week and a half now. So we've got to step it up. We've got to see some movement. We've got to open this shit up. Let's go. Around half of our audience listens on Apple Podcasts. So if you're one of them, open the app, scroll down, and hit the 5-star button. And if you write a review, I'll read it at the end of the show during the New Scene Community Hour. Shirts. We have shirts for sale at Deathwish Inc. Head over there, search The New Scene, pick up a shirt. It's a great way to support the show. Also, you can always email me at newscenepod@iodinerecords.com. Also, don't forget to support Iodine Recordings, who have just introduced the Iodine Mystery Box. It's available until the end of the year, and the Mystery Box comes in 3 sizes. You'll receive records from the Iodine Archives, which includes all of their releases. All boxes will be randomly selected, and all orders are final. No returns or exchanges unless the vinyl is damaged. Option 1. 2 LPs for $25. Option 2, 4 LPs and a 7-inch for $50. And option 3, 3 7-inches plus a limited flexi for $18. In fact, I just saw Joe and Casey this past weekend, and I tried my hardest to get them to tell me what's in the mystery boxes. Here's some audio from that exchange.
What's in the box?
Not till you give me the
What's
gun.
in the fucking box?
Give me the gun.
He just told you.
You lie! You're a fucking liar! Shut up!
Look, things get tense over here sometimes at New Scene Inc. Horsewhip have a gig with Jillian Carter at Will's Pub in Tampa. That's on December 15th. This show is to celebrate the 18th anniversary of Jillian Carter. That's a great gig. If you're in Tampa, go. Jerome's Dream have East Coast tour dates in February. Check out their page or the Iodine page for a full list of dates. And Best X has an upcoming gig, December 16th in Providence, Rhode Island at Alchemy. Also, don't forget to support this month's sponsor, Bridge 9 Records. Sign up for Bridge 9's email list. You'll get information about new releases, exclusive in-store shows and events, and promotions that go out to their email subscribers regularly. And throughout this month, you get 20% off in the Bridge 9 store with code NewScenePod. Did you hear what I just said? 20% off in the Bridge 9 store. If you were thinking of picking something up, now is the time. Stop by the Bridge 9 record store at 282 Rantoul Street in Beverly, Massachusetts. It's open every Wednesday through Sunday, starting at 11 a.m. They've got Bridge 9 releases, they've got other releases, they've got stuff exclusive to the store, they've got it all. You gotta stop by. You have to. For more information, head to bridge9.com and follow the Bridge 9 Instagram at Bridge9. That's Bridge, N-I-N-E. Okay, so listen, check back in with me at the end of the show. I'll tell you everything that's going on with me. We'll do a Popeye wrap-up discussion. We'll read some feedback from the listeners. We'll cover everything. But right now, we are going to speak to Popeye Vogelsang of Farside and Calling Hours. Enjoy. All right, we are here now with Popeye Vogelsang. Popeye, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Yes, Popeye, it's great to have you here. You know, you've got a lot of stuff going on. Calling Hours just put out an excellent LP called Say Less, and you've been doing music all throughout the years, and Borderline and Farside and your favorite Trainwreck and a lot of other stuff. And Popeye, we're going to cover all of that. But first, I want to ask you, how are you doing today?
Today I am doing okay. I had a really nice Thanksgiving. I'm here in California visiting family. So it was really nice spending some time with my mom and my brother and my nephew and my sister and my niece. Somebody brought over an unwanted guest, and so a few of us are on the mend, so to speak. So, yeah. So I'm okay. Like I'm not 100% right now, but I'm okay.
That's good. That's good. Who was the unwanted guest? Can we go into detail or not? Was it like a partner or a family member, or what's the story?
No, it was a cold. We caught colds. That was the unwanted guest.
Oh, you mean like viral guest?
Yes, a viral guest. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So something came over and it went viral. And then on Black Friday it was a very Black Friday because some of us woke up just like not feeling right.
Well, you know, the benefit of getting sick in 2023 is that if you get sick and it's not COVID, you're actually happy.
Yeah, we were thrilled. We took our tests and we did a little cheer like hooray, but you still feel like crap. So it's not great. There's not a whole lot you can do about it. Yeah, we're just kind of just trying to push through it, I guess.
Right. So you moved out to Scranton, Pennsylvania. Is this true?
This is true. Yeah. Just 6 years now.
It's been 6 years.
Yes. Yeah. I moved out there for a woman. And
isn't it crazy the things we do for love, like moving to Scranton, Pennsylvania?
Yeah, true. However, if you've never been to Scranton, I can tell you it's really nice. Like
is it?
Yeah, my wife and I, we love it. It's beautiful. Like it's nice to. And she's also originally from California. She moved out there for work, and then we met through some mutual friends, and then that turned into a long distance situation. And then I eventually moved out there. But for California kids who didn't get to experience the 4 seasons or like leaves actually changing color in autumn or seeing snow, we're really into it. But it is really lovely. We live in it's not a rural area, but it's like this little village up in the hills that's kind of nestled amongst a bunch of trees, and it's really beautiful. And oh my God, the birds, like there are so many birds. Like in California, you get seagulls, and that's about it. But in Scranton, there's blue jays and cardinals and eagles and orioles. All the major league teams are represented in the bird families out there. So yeah, we have a lot of bird feeders and squirrel feeders, and yeah, we dig it. It's really nice. And the pace is slower. There's no traffic, which is great.
Yeah, that's one thing I don't like about Southern California. Well, I guess it's a Northern California thing too, but just you exist in your car, especially in Southern California. Traveling, it's just like, oh, this thing is 15 miles away. That's an hour and a half drive.
Yeah, and that's I think that's part of why it's difficult to be a musician in Southern California, because you'll reach out to your friends and say, "Hey, I got a show coming up this weekend," and they'll say, "Oh yeah, that's 5 miles away. That's going to take forever to get there. And what's the parking situation?" And yeah, I'm not going to make it, bro. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a lot of Northeast stuff that listening to you describe it, I realized I've been taking for granted. The Four Seasons, it's so great to experience the Four Seasons. Blue Jays and Cardinals were the exact birds I was going to mention. Still, when I see them, whenever I see them, still I'm like, look, that's awesome. Look at that.
I know.
Yeah.
The plumage is so vibrant, like you can't help yourself but to flip out a little bit.
Yeah. When did you? So you've been there for 6 years. What happened? Did she come back to Scranton, and you were still in California, and you were both together?
No, she had lived there for a good number of years before we met. Actually, we were introduced by the Sensefield guys. It was after John Bunch had passed away. There were a couple of memorial shows. I'm just saying this for those who may not know. There was a West Coast memorial show, tribute show, and an East Coast tribute show. The East Coast one was in Philadelphia, and myself and my good friend Jeff Caudell were asked to fly out and do some songs with Sensefield in Philadelphia. And that's where she and I met, because she has been longtime friends with Sensefield. And I was vetted by the guys in Sensefield. She was hanging out with them and asked, like, "Hey, do you guys know that Popeye guy? Like, is he okay? Like, is he a good guy?" And they caught the drift of what she was asking, and they said, "Yeah, he's cool. We could. You want to meet him? We'll introduce you to him." And yeah, so that's how we met. And we're both remote workers, so it was kind of easier for us to just kind of fly back and forth and visit each other. And yeah, all the times I flew out to. It's not like it was the only time I had ever been in northeastern Pennsylvania, but it's different when you're on tour compared to when you're like, okay, I'm staying here for like a few weeks, and you have to go grocery shopping and do laundry or whatever.
Oh yeah,
and you can kind of get a vibe for what it's like to live here in the suburbs. And yeah, I really dug it. Like it was really cool. And so yeah. And oh my God, the pierogies and the pizza. And you can't.
They have good pizza in Scranton.
They do. They've got their own style. They call it Old Forge pizza. It's kind of similar to like a Sicilian type of pizza. Like they'll do it in a tray, like a rectangular tray. They got their own style.
I grew up in Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia, and I know I've been to Reading and Wilkes-Barre, and I don't know if I've been to Scranton. I can't remember.
Yeah. Scranton's like pretty much right next door to Wilkes-Barre. But yeah, I don't know. I'm proud of my lame suburban existence, if that makes sense.
Was it a hard adjustment because you were in Southern California for a long time?
In some ways, yes. Mostly I grew up in the suburbs, so that part of it wasn't challenging. But the previous 20 years, I had lived in Los Angeles proper in the Miracle Mile, and so if there was a problem, I would just call my landlord, and suddenly my wife had already owned the house that we lived in. So if something broke, then it was like, oh, I got to deal with this. Oh, let me get my ramshackle toolbox and see if I can, and I'll watch some YouTube videos to figure out how to fix stuff. So in that regard, yeah, it was a little, a little strange, like, not being just kind of adjusting to married life and, like taking on more responsibilities. The other thing is my wife has been hugely involved in animal rescue for the bulk of her life. So currently we have 11 cats and a couple of rabbits. And then we would occasionally also foster orphaned kittens. So I think the record is at one time we had 17 animals in the house at
Whoa.
once. Yeah, so it's a pretty solid juggling act that you do. There's not a lot of time for napping. And the animals can nap all they want, but you always have to be taking care of something. But
Yeah, or there's a cat crawling up next to you, or you hear two cats fighting in the other room or something. They're always up to something.
they're always up to something. Yeah. So those were the major adjustments as far as I can recall.
At what point do you hook up with calling hours, and how?
Oh, that was I guess it's coming up on 2 years. So it was New Year's Day a couple of years ago, and the other guys in that band, they've known each other forever, and they've all been involved in different projects with one another. A couple of them played in this band called The Commercials, and they were going to be doing a reunion show in Harrisburg, where they all live. And we have the promoter, Jeremy Weiss, is a mutual friend of ours, and those other guys caught wind that I was living in Pennsylvania, and so they reached out to Jeremy and asked, "Hey, is it true that Popeye lives in Pennsylvania? Yeah. Do you think he'd be interested in opening the show, like doing a solo acoustic set? I'll ask him. Also, do you think he would be interested in doing a few full band Farside songs with us? I'll ask him."
Ooh.
So Jeremy reached out to me, and I said, "Yeah, that sounds great." And he assured me they're outstanding musicians, which they are. But we had never met or had any contact before, and so we got in touch, and we were like, "Yeah, that sounds like it'd be fun. Let's do it." And so I showed up to the show, and we ran through the songs we were going to do during sound check, and they sounded great, and we had a blast. And then afterwards, we were just kind of trying to get to know each other a little bit. And I remember asking Tom, our lead guitar player, like, "Are you guys like doing anything? Like, do you guys have anything else going on?" And he said, "Yeah, we're working on some music. We just get together once in a while and just kind of have like jam sessions in our basement, but we can't seem to find a singer." And I kind of awkwardly rose my hand and I said, "Well, I'm not really doing anything. Do you have like recordings of any of this that you could send me?" And his eyes got really big and he said, "Yeah, we'll send you some stuff." So they sent me a bunch of songs, and they said, "Just, write anything that comes to mind." The other thing is, all of those guys, they are all in the band Don't Sleep with Dave Smalley.
Yes.
And so they've worked with Brian McTernan and remained friends with him. Brian has been a very good friend of mine for decades, but he and I have never had the opportunity to work together. And so one of the other guys just happened to be texting Brian and said, "Oh, by the way, we're gonna try to do a little project with Popeye." And Brian, supposedly Brian texted back and said, "Book studio time now. Let's start demoing now." And so so literally it seemed like a few weeks later we were in a recording studio together, like having like writing sessions and demoing songs, and then that's when it felt like, oh shit, we're an actual band.
Wow, just like that.
Pretty much.
How much of the record was written at that point when you went into the studio and started demoing? Like, how many songs did you have?
We actually had enough to do. I think we had like 10 or 11 songs actually. But then we had like when Revelation said that they wanted to put out our record, it was their suggestion that like, why don't you like pare it down and do a 12-inch EP rather than do an album, because then it'll be like 2 years before you put out another record. But let's weed out the songs you want to put out now, and then maybe 6 months to 1 year from now, you can put out another EP. So that's kind of how that process worked.
And how did you write? I mean, did they get the music first and then you came up with lyrics and melodies in the studio and like that?
Yeah, I worked on the vocals and lyrics at home. Admittedly, I was too shy to like. I have the ability to record things at home, but I was just kind of too shy to do that, and I felt like, well, we went into this whole thing, and this was a new process for all of us. We went in with the understanding that Brian was going to like full on legitimately produce this record. Um, Normally, like for every other band that any of us had ever been in, it would be you rehearse and rehearse and rehearse, and that's exactly how the song is going to sound like when you go into the studio. That's exactly how you're going to record it. But Brian didn't want us to work that way. Like, he didn't want to listen to any of the songs beforehand. He didn't want to listen to any of the practice recordings, and made it clear that don't be too married to anything that you've done at this point. That's why I mentioned earlier that they were kind of like songwriting sessions. So,
Yeah.
so we would go in and we would do like a live recording of a song, and then we would go into the control room, and then we'd all kind of look at each other for a minute, and then Brian would look up at the ceiling for a second, and then he would say, okay, here's what I think we need to do with this song. And then we would all just have to be receptive to it and not be insulted if something we did sucked. And it would be like, okay, this part, maybe we'll make this longer, maybe we'll make this part shorter. Let's take it from there. Let's try that out. And then we would go back in and do another live recording and keep doing that until we were happy with what came out. So backtracking a little bit as far as lyrics, like a lot of it, because I agonize over every syllable, but at the same time, I had to have it in the back of my mind that this might get axed, or you may have to write like a couple more lines if the song gets extended, which did happen. And then I'd be like, oh God.
Yeah.
The cat sat on a hat. Just trying to scribble things out just so it sounded palatable, I guess.
Did you ever disagree with Brian? Were you like, or was he usually spot on?
I would say that he was spot on with everything. Yeah. But I think it has a lot to do with just your attitude about the whole thing. Like we were basically going in as a lump of clay, and we said, here, make this into a nice vase.
What a fantastic opportunity to be able to do that in the studio with Brian McTernan, of all people. I
know. Yeah. I mean, the guy's brilliant, and he's a good friend, and he knows what he's doing. And we all have a tremendous level of trust with him. So it was, the challenges were only creative. There weren't any like personality challenges by any means. Like he's
even better.
Yeah. He's a sweetheart. And we're already talking about doing our next record. Like we can't wait to work with him again.
Amazing. So we have the record now. By the way, the record is called Say Less, and I think it's fantastic. The production is great. The songs are great. Nothing is too long. The album is not too long. I don't like when bands put out like 15 song records in 2023. I'm sorry if you disagree, but I'm desensitized by the internet and whatever else, and I'm old and I don't have as much time, but
there's no time, man. There's no time for that.
I love the production. I like the length. I just think you guys did a fantastic job with this.
Thank you so much. That really, really appreciate you saying that. We're very proud of it. At the risk of being arrogant, like you can puff out we could puff out our chests a little bit and be like, yeah, like we wouldn't change anything. We're super stoked about it. So thank you very much for saying that, Keith.
Absolutely. So, wait, what was I going to ask? We were talking about Brian and recording and the record. It's going to come to me.
We can stroke Brian's ego some more if he ever listens to this.
He might. He's been on the show. I don't know if he listens, but I would guess maybe sometimes if I have a band on he's worked with. Yeah. Have you guys played shows yet? Have you been playing?
Yeah, we did the distance between Scranton and Harrisburg makes it a little challenging. It's about maybe 2.5 hours. So they can get together anytime they want. It's a little more challenging for me to get out there. But we were able to do a few shows before the record came out. And then we pretty much won the jackpot, and we got to go on tour with As Friends Rust in Europe.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that happened. That just happened in October. It was a whirlwind. We did like a 9-show run with those guys and instantly bonded with them. And they're just, oh my God, those guys are amazing. And so they're like our band besties now, because we had such a great time with them. And we have a mutual admiration society. So but it's kind of ridiculous because Don't Sleep was supposed to go on that tour, and then they weren't able to go. And then some of the other guys in Calling Hours reached out to As Friends Rust and said, "Hey, we were still kind of planning on going. We got this new band with Popeye. What would you say to us coming out as your support act?" And they amazingly said, "Yeah, that sounds cool." And we were like, "Oh shit, now we have to go." And so that happened really, really quickly. And despite the challenges of being guys in your 40s and 50s and playing 9 shows in a row, we had an incredible time. And the response was really terrific. At that point, we had one digital single out, so our record wasn't even out yet. We just had a digital single, but amazingly, like, people actually were curious and interested, and the rooms were full every night that we played. Like, and there's no obligation. Like you don't have to watch the opening band, but people wanted to watch the opening band. And we also noticed that as we were playing, people weren't leaving the room, which is also a good sign.
Oh yeah.
So it was incredible. And it completely absurd because we had played 3 shows before we went on that tour. And so it took about 2 or 3 shows for us to like feel like we were like gelling as a band. Like, okay, what are we doing? Like, how do we start this song again? Like, it was kind of silly in many ways. But then by the end of the tour, we were like ready to just start like crushing things. Like, it felt really good. As exhausted as we were, like it felt good as musicians that we kind of got to that place where we felt like, all right, we are a real band. Like, we're really a real band now.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. And how does it feel to be in a full band situation again? I mean, this is the first one you've done since Your Favorite Trainwreck?
Yeah, I think it's been around 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been outstanding. Mostly, I don't want to sound too sappy, but I love these guys so much. And like, I made 4 new friends, like really, really good friends. And like, to me, that's probably the most important or most significant part about it. Like I feel like we're a gang, it feels good to be part of a gang. We don't commit like super heinous crimes or anything, but you're still a gang. And that's my favorite part about it.
I love it. So I was surprised when I read all of the guys are in Don't Sleep with Dave Smalley, who's also been on the show. So they have that band. They have Calling Hours with you. Now, what if they started a third band and got like Russ Rankin to sing or something like that? Would that make you feel weird?
Not at all. More power to them. No, they've got it in them. Like, they're all professionals, and they have their day jobs, and they have wives and children, and they're very responsible human beings, but they have a need to play music. So if they find a way to do it, like, go forth and conquer, my friends.
Yeah, I think I met them back in the day, the commercials. I'm pretty sure I saw them, and I'm pretty sure my friend drummed for them at one point back in like the year 2000. So I
cool.
I remember seeing them. Yeah.
All right, on. Yeah, I know. I do remember. I'm not talking smack, but I remember them saying that they had several drummers over the course of that band's tenure.
Yeah.
So that doesn't surprise me. But
Yeah.
no, they're just they're rad guys. I can't say enough good things about them.
So reading about you, Popeye, I was surprised to read all the years, all the bands, everything you've done. Like music was not always necessarily the number one priority. You weren't like, oh, I have to be in a band and I have to tour and this is what I'm gonna do and this is all I'm gonna do. So you have calling hours now. How did you decide it was time to be in a band again?
Uh, I just, it I don't want to say that it's, well, again, it was just a conversation I was having with our lead guitar player, Tom, and it was just kind of the heat of the moment. It's like, oh, you guys are great musicians. You have songs and you need a singer. Yeah. And that was it. And then it wasn't really until I was driving back home to Scranton that night, that long drive, and I thought, oh shit, did you just commit to being in a band right now? Like what are you getting yourself into? Like, you barely know these guys. But
Yeah.
I don't know, something about it just kind of, I don't know, something just kind of felt right. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I can understand that. And
Yeah.
it's a good way to meet people and connect with people and be involved with something. Like, I don't drink or get high anymore. I don't go to bars. So if I'm meeting people and doing something, is usually in the context of a band or a project or going to a show or something like that.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that I was bored or feeling like I needed to do something creative. I mentioned all of the cats.
Yeah.
My schedule's typically pretty full, but I thought, yeah, I think I have room in my headspace for this, and why not? You love it and hate it, so why not do it? Give it a shot.
Right. And we're glad that you did.
I appreciate that. Glad somebody does.
So Farside, you were also in this band. Do you remember that?
Wait, who are you talking about? I'm kidding. Yes, of course I do. Yeah.
This
Yep.
was what, like 11 years of your life from around age 19 to, let's say, 30?
Yeah. Yep. That's about right. Yeah.
Let's talk about the beginning. Now, you're around 19 years old. You were in Borderline. That was your first band, the hardcore band, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Rob from Hard Stance is forming a new band, and you're like, I want in on this. Let's do it.
Yes. That's how it happened. I'd never sung for a band before. Um, I was working. It was, yeah, right after I graduated high school, and I was working at a gas station, and Rob came in one day, and we were just like, "Hey, what's up?" And we're just kind of, because we went to the same high school, and we were just kind of chatting, and he mentioned that he was doing a new band that was kind of more of a melodic thing, and kind of the same situation with calling hours. He said, "Yeah, we just can't seem to find a singer." And I said, "Oh, I could sing." And he looked at me and he's like, "No, you can't." And I said, "Yeah, I can." He's like, "I've never heard you sing before." And I was like, "Well, but I can sing. I promise you I can do this." And he's like, "Come on." And we had this like debate for a few minutes. And like other customers are coming in. I'm like, "Hold on a second." And we're talking, and I said, "Dude, I promise you I can actually sing a little bit. Like, if do you have like a practice demo or something? I can write lyrics or do whatever." And he said, "Okay, fine." And then he came back the next day with a cassette tape of one of their practice sessions. And then when he handed it to me, he asked again, "Can you really sing?" "Yeah, dude. I swear to you, I can sing. Like, come on." He's like, "All right, well, we're practicing, next week or whatever, write some lyrics. We have 5 songs." And so like I just like started again scribbling out whatever I could. And yeah, and I showed up to band practice. We ran through the songs a couple of times. The really funny part is, like, I brought a tape recorder so I could record what we were all doing. And then we decided to take a break, and I, went to the bathroom, got a soda, and I forgot to turn off the tape recorder. So I got to hear what they were saying about me.
Oh, wow.
which I did not do intentionally. I came back from the break and they were like, "All right, dude, you're in." And I was like, "Yeah, all right, awesome. We're a band." And so then when I was driving home and I popped in the tape to listen to us, I got to say, they were less than enthused. They were like, "Well, what do you guys think?" "Oh, I don't know. I guess he's okay. He's pretty good. Something, blah, blah, blah." Just kind of muttering. They're like, "All right, do we have any other options?" "No, I guess he's okay." So that's how that chapter of my life began.
That's a great trick. I'm going to do that at my next band practice. I'm going to leave the phone rolling and I'm going to be like, "Guys, I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back," and just see what's really going on.
I don't recommend it. Because if it goes south, then you're not going to be happy.
Yeah, I don't want to know what people really think. I wouldn't be able to handle it, Popeye. Yeah. I'm telling you.
Yeah, me neither.
I need to live in my fantasy world. I really do.
Exactly.
So you join the band, and what happens? I guess we just start playing around locally, and we know that you went on to do a lot of things. Do you just start playing in California and expanding outwards?
Yeah, that was that's exactly what it was. Like I don't know, like people talk. They're like, "Hey, I heard you." Actually, it was like I didn't know our drummer Bob Violence at all.
What a great name!
I know. Yeah, and he always hated it. But he was in a band called Rough House with the bass player Regis Guerin from Chorus of Disapproval, and they put out a 7-inch. They were just like a local hardcore band. I think you can count on one hand the number of shows that they played, but for whatever reason, everybody loved Bob Violence, and so I was going to community college at the time, and guys would come up to me and ask, "Hey, I heard you're in a band with Bob Violence." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't really know him." "Huh, but you're in a band with Bob Violence." "Yeah."
It was like that, huh?
It was like that. And so people would start offering us shows like, same thing, like opening act, and, for a hardcore show that had like 5, 6, 7 bands on it. And then we recorded a demo and, sold them for $3. And one of we did have a little bit of a hookup because, Rob being in Hard Stance and his older brother Mark was playing bass for Gorilla Biscuits. And that was around the time when Walter Schreifels was starting Crisis Records, which was like an offshoot of Revelation Records, like to do like more non-hardcore kind of stuff. And so Mark was able to pass along our demo to Walter, and Walter thought we were good. And so then we got to, this is so ridiculous. We got to fly out to New York for a week to record our first 7-inch at Don Fury's in New York.
Wow.
Yeah. And we were all like freaking out about it. We lived off of pizza and Snapple for, a week, and got completely sick as a result of it. But I'm
still on that diet.
Again,
because I'm here now. So
yeah. So yeah, we had certain connections, but at the same time, I want to believe that if what we were doing wasn't good, none of this would have happened in the first place. So yeah, we got to record that record, and then Revelation was into it, and then we got to play more shows, and we had like a physical product. Like, hey, we got a record. It was kind of a big deal. Like in the very early 90s, like if you had a 7-inch, like that actually kind of mattered.
Yeah, because it wasn't like the internet now where anyone can put anything on Spotify, or anyone can contact a pressing plant and get a record done. You had to like know people back then.
Yeah. So I think it was there. I think there was some legitimacy to it, and it certainly helped. And then we got to play more shows, and then we eventually did our first national tour on a 7-inch, and then we did a European tour, and then we did a second national tour, and just kept playing shows.
Is this all like with around 1990?
Yeah, like probably the first third of the 90s is when things were really kind of happening for us. And then I think once we got into like the mid to late 90s, that's when we got out of college and had and got real jobs, and didn't have as much time for it, or maybe we just didn't quite have the enthusiasm for it.
Yeah,
I think we always loved the band, and it's not like we had like a nasty breakup or anything. We still all remain friends to this day.
Yeah, you know what? Because Farside is one of the few bands that hasn't reunited or anything. I didn't know anything about the breakup or you or anything, so I created this big story in my mind that like you guys don't like each other, and there was a big breakup, and like no one wants to talk to you, and like all this. So I made up this whole story, but none of that's true.
No. No, we have text threads and Instagram threads where we send each other random goofy videos, and we've talked about it because we'll get offers once in a while.
Yeah.
But then we'll have a conversation, and it's like, oh my God, like, do we even think we would be remotely good? No, we would be terrible because we're not in our early 20s anymore. And there's just too many aches and pains, and we would be lousy. And so we just kind of, we're happy to just kind of leave it where we left it. Like, let's not ruin it by trying to do like some pathetic kind of reunion show and disappoint everybody, mostly ourselves.
So that's it. No reunion.
Well, check back with me in 5 years. We'll see what happens.
Have you guys ever gotten together and played again, like even just in your practice space or anything, or a practice space?
No, we have talked about doing that, but we all live in different parts of the country, so just logistically, it's like, man, I don't want to fly out there. It would be that'd be a long journey just to get together for a jam session. And we're old guys and we get tired, and we're like, nah, we'll just send each other goofy videos.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. I'm 41 now, and look, if I'm flying somewhere, something big has got to be going on.
Correct. Yeah.
One thing I read about Farside I had no idea about. Zach De La Rocha played guitar in the band at one point.
Right. Yeah. He was a good friend of ours. I think he was in the band for, I think, maybe like 6 months. It was kind of an interesting period because Inside Out had recorded their record, but there were a lot of delays in it being released. And so, and Zach was our buddy, and he was like, I'm not doing anything right now. Like, what would you say to me, like being your second guitar player? And we were like, yeah, man, you're a shredder. And no, it was really cool having him in the band. Like, he's an incredibly talented guy. And then finally the Inside Out record came out, and he's like, I got to kind of do this now. And we were like, yeah, it's cool. No problem. So he did, we did do a demo session with him, our second demo session that came out on the Scrap record that we put out. I think it's the second half of those songs. Like, he played guitar on those.
I didn't know he played guitar too, and apparently is a shredder. That's cool.
Yeah, he was a great guitar player. Yeah, and that's what ultimately led to me starting to play guitar for Farside and not just be a singer. Because then after Zach left, Rob was still in the band, and he said, all right, well, we need to get another guitar player. And I was like, great, who can we get? And Rob said, well, why don't you sing and play guitar. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That's the most, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. I've never done that before. And he said, well, why don't you try? I don't want to try. Okay. Why don't you try? And so I just kind of workshopped that for a while and just practiced and practiced and practiced. And then I realized, oh yeah, you can actually sing and play guitar simultaneously pretty good, or at least okay.
Yeah, before you do it, it seems like it'll be impossible. But then once you actually start doing it, it's not that hard.
Yeah, but before you do it, and I'm generally kind of shy to begin with, so
Yeah.
and I don't want to I don't want to be the guy that ruins anything. But then we started practicing, and then you'd do a song, and then you'd look around at the other guys and like, okay, who's gonna hate me right now? And they would say, no, yeah, that sounded good. Do it again. Okay. And so,
Yeah, I'm like you. I'm incredibly shy. And so that's why I was happy and surprised to hear that at 19, you're just saying you can sing. You're like, no, I've got this. I'm going to do it because that's what I wanted to sing for a band so bad when I was like 16, 17, like a hardcore band, because I didn't play any instruments at that point. But it was this deep, dark secret. Like I didn't want to admit to anyone that I wanted to sing in a band. So I would just kind of keep it secret.
yeah. Yeah. I think that sums me up very well.
Yeah. But actually, this show taught me to just do it. Just go and do it because you have nothing to lose except people saying like, oh, no, like, sorry. And that's fine. I've heard that before.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah. So Farside is touring. We're doing all kinds of stuff. I've read this about the band. Some people wanted to go full bore and tour full time and maybe try out a major label if that was a possibility. And some people didn't. It seems like you're one of the people that did not want to.
I am absolutely one of the people that did not want to. I've always had, as much as I like to go out and rock and roll, I really enjoyed the thought of having a quiet, calm life. And the thought of being on tour like 6 months or 9 months out of the year just did not appeal to me at all. And the other thing, and this is going to be super sappy, I fucking hate rock stars, and and I don't like that life. It just did not appeal to me. Like I didn't want to feel like I was. I mean, I'm a hardcore kid. I didn't want to feel like I was part of this corporate machine. I suppose that we could have done a lot more. I know we could have done a lot more, but I don't know. I wanted to keep it small.
Was there bigger opportunities? Like, did you ever talk to majors or were there big tour offers, that kind of thing?
There were a few, and we didn't have a manager or anything. Larger. There were a few times where major labels would call Jordan at Revelation and ask like, who are we supposed to talk to? Because we don't like, do they have a legal department? And Jordan's like, nope. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. And, and then Jordan would call me and I would just say, just tell him, no, I don't want to be part of it.
Wow. So you never even had the discussions?
I think a couple of times we did, but it was more like, oh, you're going to take us out to dinner? Sure. Yeah, great. I'll take a free meal. But otherwise, no, I felt like the community meant too much to me to want to be one of those guys who just kind of bailed on it. And I don't know. It would just, I had this feeling that it would kind of make me feel dirty in a way, that you rose to a certain level of prominence on the backs of your friends who spent their hard-earned time and their hard-earned money to come see you play and buy a T-shirt and buy a record, and then you just kind of sign on the dotted line, and then you bail out. And I didn't want to feel that way because I wasn't that guy, and I don't want to feel like I'm still not that guy. At this stage of my life, hey, if someone wants to give me $1 million, I'll fucking take it. But at that time, I just didn't feel right about it. And the other thing is, there was that period in the 90s when alternative music was super in vogue, and every band was getting looked at.
Right, because you were there pre-Nirvana, during Nirvana, post-Nirvana, all that stuff.
Yeah, and man, every band was getting looked at, and every band was getting offers, and it was this terribly sad story when all of these bands with stars in their eyes would get offered a major label deal, and they would record a record, and they would go on tour, and then it was time to do their second record, and then it got completely canned, and they got dropped, and they were just a tax write-off.
Right. I could tell the stories before I even hear them because I've heard them so many times on the show. Like, you sign to the major, the A&R person is all about you. You record the record, the A&R person leaves, the label doesn't care anymore, and you get flushed down the toilet.
Yeah.
It's a sad state of affairs.
Yeah, it is. And then you lose a lot of credibility. And I at least wanted to feel like we could hang on to our credibility as we weren't the most hardcore band, we weren't the punkest band, but I wanted to feel like we were still punk.
Well, I mean, it's pretty impressive to be that young and just say, hey, I'm not going to do this. I choose not to do this, because I'm sure if I was in the same position, I would have done whatever I could do. Sure, I'll sign with this label. I'll go as far as I can, whatever else. But to be like, no, I'm comfortable where I am. This is what I want to do. That's, I think that's admirable.
Well, again, we had day jobs, and we all went to college, so we didn't we didn't have to rely on it. And I mean, honestly, like what are you going to achieve with all of that? Like, fame is fleeting. You can get money from anywhere. Women are nice, but they're also fleeting. So I don't know. I just kind of wanted to. I didn't want it to be that, and I wanted to have opportunities to spend time with my mom and my loved ones, and not miss holidays or important life events because I had some other obligation. I think it's. I think a lot of it's pretty goofy if you think about it.
Yeah, everything you're saying is true, but I still would have wanted it. Like whatever little, well, that's where I was at the time, because I was like really unhappy and looking for anything to fill the hole. So it's like, okay, like 6 months of fleeting attention. Sure, I'll give anything to have that. But it sounds like you had a pretty fulfilling life. So, you weren't, that's not where your head was at.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have very little complaints. May I ask you a question?
Oh, please.
What was causing you to be in such an unhappy place in your life?
Let's see. I had a lot of, I was unhappy in general, partially because of like stuff I went through growing up, like death in the family. My parents were really busy with work, so they weren't around a lot. Getting bullied in school. And this all culminated in a drug and alcohol addiction, which went on for like 15 or 16 years. So it was like lot of stuff that I was trying to mask a lot of unhappy feelings that I was trying to mask with drugs and alcohol. So I'm getting high. I'm jumping from relationship to relationship. I think if I'm in a band, that's going to be the cure all for everything. So I was like lost for a really long time.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you. I really appreciate your candor with that.
I appreciate you asking.
Well, it couldn't have been easy. No, it's heavy.
Yeah.
No, it's good to be able to. I think it's great to be able to have time to reflect on things that happened to us in the past, and
oh yeah,
and try to understand like certain decisions that you make and certain paths that you take. But
yeah, like I was thinking about this while I was researching you, Popeye, because at young ages, early 20s, mid 20s, it seemed like you were doing what I'm doing now. Like now, I know exactly what I want. I know what to do. I know what work I need to do to get where I want. Right, but that only happened within the last 5 or 6 years since I cleaned up. Right, and I'm like, wow. Imagine if I had been like 20 years old, 24 years old, and had the focus that I did now, because plenty of friends of mine lived somewhat more stable lives and had bands that they took far, or marriages or businesses or whatever else. And I'm like, wow, it was just all this time kind of drifting. So for you to be young and you have the band, you graduate college, you have a career, like you're kind of already doing that in your 20s, right? Like you're focused.
yeah. And then the train went off the rails many times since then. But
yeah,
I think it's important to have yeah. It's kind of weird because I felt like I needed to have a lot of focus, but then I kind of learned that you can kind of not have a lot of focus, and certain people in your life may not enjoy that so much. But then you can pivot in different directions, and you can try out different things. And I think it goes back to getting back to music. I was not aware that it had been 10 years since I had done anything musically until this band started, and until people started asking for me to come on podcasts. I was like, why am I so popular all of a sudden? Oh shit. It's been like 10 years, and I'm, and I'm not Kevin Seconds or Milo Ackerman by any means, but it's interesting, and it's good to be able to have these conversations when they're, open and honest like this. And I forget that, oh, you're a musician. I forget, I don't think about it. But then when you do, like, you can find something and find an opportunity to do something awesome and do something with nurturing people, and make new friends and reconnect with old friends. And, man, it's a great feeling.
That's interesting what you say, because you're probably not sitting around thinking like, oh, it has been 10 years since I've been in a full band with other people, or oh, it's been 20 years since I've done this. Probably not until you're on these podcasts like this one and talking about it do you think like, oh yeah, this is what's going on.
Yeah, no, I thought your favorite train wreck was like 3 weeks ago. Like, oh wait, what? How old are you?
2012 honestly still feels like 3 years ago. Because I moved up to New York City in 2012, and I'm like, there's no way that was 11 years ago. That's impossible.
Well, yeah, you asked me about moving to Scranton, and I was like, oh my God, has it been 6 years? Yeah, it has been.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So Monroe Doctrine, I have questions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, first of all, this is a classic. I love the record.
Thank you.
And I hope you're unhappy. I have to hear about this breakup because this is one of the best breakup songs ever. And in my overly dramatic 20s and part of my 30s too, I would always listen to this song when something was going wrong.
Well, I will tell you that it's always been one of my least favorite songs to play live. Not because it puts me into an emotional state. It's just because I have a terrible habit of doing too much writing and not giving myself room to breathe. And like technically, like I don't think I ever played it once and played it perfectly. Like it just, I always fucked it up. So I'll get that out of the way first and foremost. I never thought anyone would care about it. It was one of those situations when, this was pre Garage Band. Like it was really hard to record demos and send it to the other guys in your band. So you had to show up to band practice and sing your heart out and like, hey, I got a new song, guys, and like play it for everybody. And then again, you would just kind of stand there and wait for the reaction. Is this okay? Like, is everybody cool with the song? Like, do you want to work with this? It's not very punk. It's not very hardcore. And that I would just kind of wait for everybody to let me know if we are going to move forward with this song. And luckily everyone said, yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, we can work with it. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, that's pretty much there was never a lot of jubilation with everybody. Like, oh my God, that's the best song. It was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. We would spend a few hours just kind of working with it. The content of it was, nothing really crazy. It was just it was a breakup song. It was a woman that I was in a relationship with for, I don't know, a year and a half maybe. And then we broke up, nothing crazy, just the typical reasons why people in their 20s end relationships with. And I was just just taking a walk when I was living here in Huntington Beach, and I don't know, it just kind of popped into my head. I thought, all right, well, go with it. You got band practice in a couple of days. You got to show up with something.
Did she ever hear the song?
I'm pretty sure she never did. She was not a punk rock girl by any means.
Mm.
So, I'm pretty sure she never did. Probably for the best that she never did.
Yeah, that's probably for the best.
Yeah, it was just pretty much it. I don't know. I guess it's hard to know why anybody would resonate with anything that you do, and why so many people ask me about that song in the first place. Because to me, it was just another song. Like it was, we gotta write music, we gotta record a record, we gotta do stuff.
It's because it puts into words so well how we feel after certain breakups. I've had plenty of breakups like that, usually the shorter relationships, where I'm like, yeah, I really hope they're unhappy.
Yeah. Well, I will say that in my mind, it wasn't a hateful song. It was more like, oftentimes when you end a relationship and then you'll say, well, we can be friends. Let's just be friends. And I was thinking, I don't want to be your friend. Like, can I be honest? Like, I don't want to be friends with you anymore. Like, I just want to like move on. I don't want to think about you. I don't want to meet for coffee and hear about who you're dating now. Like, I don't,
No,
not at all. Like, just fucking go away. Like,
you know what? It actually annoys me when people do that.
Yeah.
I know it's healthy, and I know like technically it's what you're supposed to do, but look, my last two relationships did not end well. We're not friends. We don't meet for coffee. I don't hear about their current partners. So that's my reality. So when I hear that, oh yeah, we still hang out. Oh yeah, we all get together with our new partners. I'm like, what reality are you living in?
Yeah.
That is not my reality.
Yeah, I do not think that it's healthy, and I do not think that it's friendly. Like, I think it's okay to just say no, like, we're done. Like, done. Like, go away. Don't call me. Because that was the thing. Like she would call me just to ask how I was doing. And I'm like, why do you fucking care? Like, I don't like, why are you calling me? Like, come on, like go away. Like, I want to go away. You go away.
I was fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And now I got to process all this stuff that we're talking about, which is like stupid. Like, what a waste of time. Like, don't do that.
The clean break is the way to go.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you agree.
Yeah. I'm glad you agree too, Keith.
All right, good. Save it for the children. What is going on with this song? Now, I've read that like we all had different influences, and we all want to put them in the band, but that
I'm just so thrilled because I'm so thrilled that you're asking me about that song. It was ridiculous. Well, Kevin Murphy is a metalhead. He used to make mixtapes of like death metal and black metal bands for me. And when we went in to record the Monroe Doctrine, I think it was kind of unspoken, but I think we all kind of knew that this would be the last recording session that we ever have. I mean, it just kind of seemed like it was, kind of reaching the end of the road for us.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, Kevin wanted it to be a double LP, but Revelation said, well, if you're not going to go on tour, then no, because that's going to be really expensive and it'll be difficult for us to recoup the cost for that. And so we try to record it. So we were like, all right, well, we're in the studio, and let's just like record everything that comes out of our minds right now. And it was one of those times where we were just kind of sitting around and just fooling around, and I don't know, it just kind of came out. We even got Jim Monroe to do some backing vocals on that. Yeah, it was.
Did you guys ever play that live?
I don't know, maybe, possibly.
That would be great if you did. Like if you went from "I Hope You're Unhappy" to "Save It for the Children,"
yeah,
to like "Statues of Snow" or something
like that. Yeah, yeah. It was just like a downtime kind of situation. Like whatever. There were no vocals. Like I was just like yelling gibberish into the microphone, and I was like, "Hey Jim, like, can you tone it down so I sound like a grizzly bear?" And then I wrote the lyrics afterwards to hopefully match up what I thought I was saying. It was just when we would get together to practice, we would probably spend the first hour just doing like death metal jams. And we always had a love for death metal, and like, hey, can I get on the drums for a minute, and can you play bass, and we'll just goof off. And then we'd play for like an hour, and then we would take a break for like an hour and like catch up, and then we would think, oh, we should probably play some music. I need another soda. And then, we were not always the most productive band, but we had a lot of fun most of the time.
Was there ever any butting heads about influences or writing or anything? Because again, I think I might have just created this story in my mind, but there's one drastic shift on that record with "Save It for the Children," but there's a couple tonal shifts of like the style of music going on the Monroe Doctrine, where Did you guys ever butt heads when you were writing, or like what direction you wanted to go in or anything?
No, I never felt that. Everyone was always pretty open about. I think if you had something to bring to the table, we felt like we could potentially work with it. If you had something to bring to the table, and I think the thing with Farside was that we didn't really know what we were doing, but we also did not give a fuck. Like we enjoyed getting together and making music together. But no, there was never any there were never any specifics about, okay, we need to sound more like this band or we need to sound less like this band. And we try to be democratic as much as we could. Like, hey, here's a song. Yeah, anybody dig that? All right. No. What about this? Yeah, that's cool. All right, let's go with that. Yeah, it was nice in that regard because I think not having any goals in mind makes it easy to just like, oh, what are you doing this weekend? I don't know. Great, here's a song. Okay, it just kind of that was kind of the framework for the whole thing. Like there was nobody there was no one in particular that we emulated or thought that we had to sound like, and there was nobody that we thought that we should not sound like. We just we did our own thing, and we were always surprised when somebody reacted well to anything that we did.
When does the band end? How does it end?
I don't know. Our bass player Brian Chu had been living in San Francisco. He was going to school there, and so it became more and more difficult. I'm not blaming him for anything by any means. It kind of goes along with what we were talking about earlier when we were out of school and we had like full-time jobs and we were getting older and stuff. Brian was in San Francisco going to school to get his teaching credential, and so it became more and more difficult for us to get together to play. But I think we all just kind of lost interest in a way, because I remember Kevin bringing it up and asking, like, what are we going to do? Like, get together once in a while to play a few shows on a weekend and maybe put out a 7-inch once in a while. Like, is it even worth it? And yeah, we were just kind of standing together in a parking lot, and we were like, maybe it's just time to hang it up. So we just kind of parted ways quietly. We never had a last show, because that would have seemed kind of silly. Also, like, hey, it's our last show. Why is this your last show? I don't want to talk about it. Yeah, we were just like, I'm just going to go home. Going to, go to Jack in the Box and get some sleep, and I'll talk to you guys later. It was just kind of, it was quiet. It was a quiet departure.
I see. So that was it.
That was it. Yeah. Yeah. Really anticlimactic. Just like, this is kind of goofy. Personally, I felt like I got to do, I never thought that I would ever do anything as a quote unquote musician. It's incredible to me. And I think about it every day that I got to do a lot of stuff. All the traveling, all the friends that I made, the records that I got to put out, and it's incredible to me. And the thing is, again, they were not goals. They were just like, wouldn't that be cool if you got to do that thing? Yeah. And I got to do them. They just happened.
Yeah.
And they were amazing to me, all of them. And I could tell you, not a day goes by where I don't think about, like, not a day goes by where I don't have one of those moments where I could be doing some completely random task, like I'm washing the dishes or I'm scooping out a litter box, and then all of a sudden it's just like, hey, remember that time where you were in that place and there was that guy and there was that thing? And what a great memory. Every day that happens. Like, I'm so eternally grateful that I got to do any of this stuff. And amazingly, it keeps happening. And I personally don't really get it a lot of the time. Even with calling hours now, like, oh shit, you get to do this again. You get to do this. You get to go to Europe. You get to play the show in New Jersey or Harrisburg or wherever. And you're doing this stuff. It's amazing. So with Farside, none of those things were goals. It was just what happened. And I'm so appreciative of it. And this conversation that we're having right now, Keith, is a product of that. Like, I mean, that band broke up decades ago, and you want to talk to me about it. How great is that?
Yeah, it's pretty trippy. Like, the first thing I heard from Farside was Monroe Doctrine. I was driving back from New York City to Philly with some friends, and they put on the record, and I was like, who's this? And they're like, Farside. And I'm like, wow, this is good. And then I remember at one point, Save It for the Children came on, and I was like, wait, is this still the same band? And they're like, yeah, they do some different stuff on this record. And now fast forward 20 years later, and I just happen to have this podcast, and you just happen to have a new band, and we happen to be connecting here, and I can ask you about it. It's really weird.
Yeah.
And really cool.
It's really weird, but mostly really cool.
Yeah.
Because now we're friends, Keith.
I hope so.
Whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not.
Listen, I'm going to be emailing you now about hooking up for shows and just all kinds of things, Popeye. It's going to be crazy. No, but seriously, I have the same attitude that you do. When I was young, I got to do a lot of cool band-related stuff, touring, being out on tour with friends, shows, all kinds of crazy stuff that I look back on and remember things and am eternally grateful about. And now I get to do it again with this show and the music I'm doing now. So I have the same attitude you do, where it's just this eternal feeling of being grateful.
Yeah, it's all gravy.
That's right. Well, Popeye, I want to thank you for everything you've done and everything you're doing. And I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show.
And Keith, thank you for the invitation. I am also grateful, and I appreciate you taking the interest, and very, very humbled by your support. Thank you very much, Keith.
And there you have it. Popeye Vogelsang. Amazing conversation. He really caught me off guard a couple times. You know, when he asked me about my past, and I told him about things that were going on with me, and I wasn't expecting that. I'm always caught off guard when I'm talking to someone and they ask me a question, because I'm just not expecting it. It doesn't happen most of the time. And Popeye caught me off guard again when he said that we were friends now, because no one's ever said that before. But you know what, Popeye? I'm happy to consider you a friend now as well. And that conversation was easily one of the best ones I had all year. Calling Hours is excellent. I'm really happy that Popeye is doing music in a full band situation again. So if you haven't heard the record, Say Less, highly recommend checking it out. Really, really good stuff. And Farside, classic. Just classic. I mean, getting to do a deep dive on that and hearing about all of their history was so interesting. Because like I told Popeye, I made up all these stories in my head of why the band broke up and what was going on and all this stuff. And I imagined all these big fights and all this drama. And nope, they're still friends. They just don't feel the need to get together and play again. Not right now, at least. Who knows? Maybe it's a possibility for the future. But it was really great just hearing the whole story. And who knew that Zach De La Rocha was in the band at one point? I didn't know that. So really, really awesome conversation. Thank you so much, Popeye, for coming on the show. So let's check in, huh? How are we doing? I've had quite a tumultuous few weeks. It's been stressful with my dad. He had his surgery. He's out of the hospital now. He's home. So he's good. So there was a lot of family turmoil and things to work out and communication, but it seems like we have stabilized now and everyone is good, and it's brought us closer together, which I like. That's good. I've been working on my new band. There's been a lot of time spent in the studio figuring things out, recording, refining, mixing. That's been stressful. Stressful, but awesome. I'm excited. But that seems to be stabilized, and I have a plan for the future now. So there's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of stuff going on, but generally I feel pretty happy. Things are pretty good. The podcast is always steady and good. I've got new music on the horizon. My family is okay. Work is okay. It's good. I'm good. We're closing out the year big here. And it's a rainy Sunday in New York City here. It's late at night. I'm getting ready to finish up this podcast and get it ready to deliver to you tomorrow morning. It was another busy weekend of stuff, just all weekend long. No breaks. So I'm tired and I need a break. And I think I'll have one this week, and then we've got Christmas break coming up. So I'm looking forward to that. So why don't we check in with the New Scene Community Hour? I got a couple of Spotify Q&A responses here. Okay, Julian Torres says, please more alternative metal band interviews like Svalbard and Death Heaven. I love hardcore, but would love to hear from the alternative metal musicians more often, like Baroness. Thank you, Julian, for that comment, and I have heard you, and I've added more of those type of bands to the list. We have a big running list of bands we're reaching out to and bands we want to have on the show. I added a couple more in that stratosphere just for you. And listen, we're going to talk to everybody. This show is just getting started, and I want to talk to everybody. So we're going to make it happen. And on episode 203 with Mario Loveland from Best X, Simon says, one of my favorite episodes of this year. Great guest, great chat. Thank you, Simon. That's Simon Downbeat Vinyl, everybody. A big supporter of the show. I appreciate you, Simon. And just another reminder, we're sitting at 157 Apple Podcast reviews. I would really like to get us over 200 sometime soon. So if you listen on Apple Podcasts, open up the app, search the New Scene, scroll down, find us, hit that 5-star button. And if you write a review, I will read it on the air during this portion of the show. Also, don't forget to check out the New Scene 2023 Spotify playlist. I add all of our guests. I add all of our recommendations. It's a great way to check out all the music associated with the show. And I do one for each year of the show, so you can go back and check it out and hear all the historical ones as well. It's great to put on during a long drive. I do that sometimes myself. So that's it. That's all I've got for this week. We are going to end the show with my favorite Farside song. It's called Statues of Snow. I'm back next week with a new episode and a new guest. So thanks everybody for listening. And until next time.